to the very first Bearded Booktube. I am Chris, sometimes known as the Beard, or Noni. Had a more full beard in the past. There was an accident and growing it back in. Anyway, yeah, long story. So this is my very first attempt at a booktube. So first off, who am I? Well, I'm this fantastically handsome bearded gentleman. I'm an author. I am the host of BlizzPro Weekly. So anyone who's a big fan of Blizzard games may have heard of BlizzPro.com. And we do a weekly webisode kind of thing where we sum up everything that's been happening in the Blizzard entertainment universe over that past week. Before that, I also had the Bearded Gamer Show, which was my own show. And I dealt with video games, comic books, all kinds of sundry nerdery and whatnot. So some of you all may know me from that, and as passionate as I am about video games, I am so much more passionate about books, as you can see by some of my beauties sitting right behind me. Now by day, I am a technical writer for a healthcare company, so I do a lot of just sort of editing, a lot of technical documents, customer communications, really boring stuff, and not at all what I'm passionate about. But I'm also an author, and I've written a book. And there it is, The Lost and Broken Realm. Now this is book one of my Things Forgotten trilogy. It's the very first thing I've ever read. Please go check it out. It's on Amazon, it's on Nook, it's on, I believe, Kobo, and definitely Smashwords. And, this is something I'm always going to talk about every single time I do this. Not in as much detail, but yeah, it's a fantasy novel about a guy who's just sort of really lost his way. He's a widower, and he screws up his life, and then he's in a car wreck. And he wakes up in this place where all the lost and broken people and forgotten places and things, they come to rest. And in this adventure, he's trying to figure out whether he's going to try and save these people, try to help them, or try to get back to his own world and redeem his own broken life. So yes, The Lost and Broken Realm. Check it out on Amazon. And here's the thing, if you buy it in paperback off Amazon, it's fulfilled by this guy. I actually said, you might get, well, not this one's signed for my wife, but one of the other ones, I'll actually send it to you. Right? That's pretty cool. Okay, let's move on to standard booktube stuff. So let me be clear about what's going to make this a little different from some other booktubes out there. I have a love affair with first edition hardcovers. Every book you see on the shelf is just so, a first edition hardcover. When I do hauls, when I go out to buy books, it's a lot of, half-price books and, small bookstores, used bookstores, and that's what I'm hunting for. I'm looking at those copyright pages, I'm looking for first edition or the right number sequence, all that good stuff. So, with that said, let me talk about, well, there's a cat. Let me talk about my haul from last month. So I've become a fan of Jim Butcher's Dresden Files. Now, when I started off Red Stormfront, I wasn't a fan. I thought, I'm done. But I had a couple friends who were like, no, you've got to keep going, you've got to keep reading. And I was like, oh. And they'd read up to like 14 books, I think, or something like that. And then I went to an author event, and I tell you, he's pretty cool. I dug it. So, and he made a good point. And he said, the problem when you've written like 14 books in a series is people have to start at the beginning, when you didn't know what the F you were doing. So, okay, Mr. Butcher, give me a second shot. So over the weekend, I picked up White Knight. Hardcover, first edition. Pretty cool, right? I've actually already read this one. Ends up my library has all of the Dresden Files books borrowable through ebook. So that's pretty cool. So that's pretty much how I've been reading them. And I'll keep doing it that way. I keep the nice hardcovers sitting at home, but it did pick up White Knight. I also picked up Changes, which I have not read yet. Again, first edition hardcover. And Ghost Story, another Dresden Files. Now, to be clear, for a while I've been reading and enjoying, but hadn't really gone full tilt like, yes, I'm going to get all these in first edition hardcover. So I made the decision, and as you see, I just kept finding them, so I had to buy them. And Skin Game. Now this is his most recent one, so this one wasn't quite as inexpensive as the rest, but it's still half-price book, so it's still a good discount, Now, I tell you what, so this tears at me a little bit. So it ends up the Dresden Files weren't made as hardcovers when they first came out, until he was already 6 books in. So it was actually with the 7th book that they brought out a hardcover first. So this tears at me because when you get the first 6, really the mass market paperback was the true first edition. Of course, later they've gone back and put out hardcovers of these, and they're often called first printings because it was the first time in hardcover. And those things go for a mint. So my collector brain is kind of torn about that one. And finally, I picked up Zoe's Tale by Scalzi. Now, I know Scalzi is super popular, so I feel very mainstream in this particular first episode. I read Red Shirts, and it was fun, don't get me wrong, but at the same time I thought, boy, all of his characters have the exact same voice. I even tweeted at him. He tweeted back. It was a little awkward, but fun. He's a cool guy, but like I said, all his characters sound the same. But this is me trying to give him a second chance. Zoe's Tale, John Scalzi. I'll let you know whether once again, all of his characters sound the same. Or not. Maybe he'll surprise me. So another thing I want to do with these booktubes, I don't just want to talk about the books I'm reading and the books I bought and all that stuff. I want to talk about things that are going on, not only in the literary world, but also in my writing. Now recently I wrote a blog post about this after a long conversation with my wife about it, which is this. Romance is hard. Now, I like a good romance as much as the next, but my problem is I don't like it when it's the main driving force for the story. I like a good romance that's in a novel, but it's not the focus. Like a romance that really just comes together as the story's moving along. But the problem is, since most of what I read is like fantasy or sci-fi, a lot of those romances to me seem really forced or flat, or they just don't make any sense. Like, wait, you're with him and her, and wait, what? No, So that happens a lot. And so what I was really looking for in this book I'm writing is I thought, well, these two characters, I think they're going to have a romance together. And I'm writing it, and I'm writing it, and the romance isn't really there. But I realized part of my problem, like I said, is I don't read books that do that. And then my wife and I went and rented the Divergent movie. We thought, well, it's a big deal. We'll watch it. Redbox, it's cheap. And, the movie was okay, but don't get me wrong. But it had that romance. I believed that little romance. And it didn't go all the way to sex either. But I believed it. And it wasn't a movie about romance. So this tells me, I have to go read Divergent, don't I? Yeah, I've heard things about the book, that it's okay, And so I'm not super gung-ho to go and read that particular book. So, maybe I've got some viewers out there, maybe some leftovers from the old Bearded Gamer show, so I put it to you, possible viewers on this very first episode. If you know of a book that is not specifically a romance novel, but manages to introduce two characters and put them together in a believable romance in one book, let me know. Throw it down in the comments. I want to know what's out there, what I should read, and it's got to be a believable romance, a heartfelt romance, preferably in a well-written novel. So let me know. All right, guys, I'm all over the internet. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr. I'm a Goodreads author with my book. Check it out. I'll see you on the next booktube.